So I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I have lived in New York City I graduated high school in 2011. I moved here in 2012. It's 2025. I have lived here for 13 years. And I moved to New York City to go to school at Parsons, the New School for Design, and I received my BFA in fashion design. And while I was at university, I did a number of internships, as you are encouraged to do because you are in the center of fashion and you have access to all of these amazing companies. So I worked for Donna Karan and Leela Rose and Eden. And while you're at these internships in university, you spend a ton of time running errands in the garment district. And I will say that even the jobs I got after school, I worked for really small companies, and so I still spent quite a lot of time in the garment district, running errands, doing fittings at factories. This area called the garment district is a central area of Manhattan, and it kind of is right below Times Square. So it's pretty central Manhattan, and there's just a plethora of stores and manufacturers and production factories and all of these things that are related to the production of fashion in New York City. And so what I thought I would do is give a little tip list for when you go to the garment district, what you need to make sure you do ahead of time, because it is incredibly overwhelming and there are so many options for where to go and what to get. And this video isn't really going to be about where to go or what to get, but more so about my 5 tips for being prepared for going to the New York City Garment District as someone who has spent 13 years going there. Okay, so number 1, always have a shopping list. So I used to go to the garment district on behalf of a company, so I'm not just going just to have fun and shop and just to see what I find. And so I have kind of taken that approach every time I go now. I always make a shopping list, even if it's for my company, even if it's for personal projects, because it is so easy to get distracted and there are so many things to look at that you just cannot look at everything. So if you go in with a really specific product in mind, fabric, trim, notion, something that you are actually looking for and want to find, whether that's a description of a fabric, like I am looking for a rib knit, or you're looking for, a certain size button, then you can go look at all the options of buttons. Like even those 2 descriptors are quite broad and you'll have so many options depending on where you go. So always have a shopping list. You're still going to have to narrow it down from that by a lot. Number 2, bring reference samples. If you're going for something specific, and say you're going for a personal project and you want to get fabric to make a wedding guest outfit, and you already know what shoes you're going to be wearing, bring the pair of shoes or bring one of the shoes, because if you don't have that reference of the color of those shoes and you're in the store looking at all of these fabrics, you're not going to be able to decide which color is going to go with the shoes. And then you're going to end up getting swatches, and then you have to go back home, compare it to your shoes, and then go back to the garment district another day. And it's just a lot of extra traveling when you could have easily just brought that one pair of shoes or that single shoe, and then you could have just figured it out on the spot. For me, I always bring any sort of reference sample I might need. So for instance, when I went yesterday, I brought this little envelope, and inside it has 2 little denim swatches. I already know I want to make samples out of these 2 fabrics for my photo shoot that I'm planning for my spring summer 25 sewing patterns. And so I'm trying to create kind of a cohesive collection for this photo shoot. And so by bringing these reference samples, I was able to look at the other fabrics I was looking at and compare it directly with these fabrics. And that way I could tell if I was going to like the top in the fabric I was looking at with the jeans in one of these fabrics that I brought with me. And this is such like an easy, simple thing to do, is just cut a little baby swatch and bring it with you. And so I would encourage you to cut swatches of your own fabrics if you're trying to pair a new fabric with something that already exists in your closet that you made. And then the other thing that's in this little envelope, it's a button. This is what I include in my garment making kits that I sell on the Forest and Thread website. This is what is included in the MVP BD shirt kit. And this is an all natural Carozzo button, and it's a size 18L. So if you have any trims that you're trying to find, and say you like the size of a button that is already in your collection, or you know you're making a button down shirt and you need to find a specific size, just make sure you either have a reference of the size you need, or you actually bring the physical button with you of what you're trying to match. Okay, this one's really important. So you need to plan out your route before going. So why is this important? The garment district operates on business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, those are your primary hours for going to the garment district. So if you're trying to go on the weekend, you're not going to be able to hit all of the fun stores that are primarily there for the industry. So you're going to want to make sure that you go on like Thursday, Friday, if you're just coming in for the weekend or a long weekend. Check if they're closed for holidays, if you're coming on a holiday weekend. I went to the garment district in the afternoon yesterday. I knew a handful of stores I wanted to go to closed at 5 p.m. And if I'm getting there at 3:30, then I know I only have an hour and a half. But other stores close at 6 p.m. or 6:30, even 7 maybe. So what I like to do is plan the route, see what stays open when, and what's convenient. Because this is going to come up in a later point, but you're going to be walking so much if you're planning a day in the garment district. So if you can, try and go to stores that are next to each other, like 38th Street between 7th Ave and 8th Avenue, you could hit like 20 stores on that block all in a row. But that being said, you need to make sure that if that store over on 40th Street closes at 5 and you're still on 38th Street and it's 4:45, you're not going to make it. So make sure you plan ahead and know what time the stores are open until. As I transition to being what I call next to the fashion industry, I'm kind of just outside of it now. I'm trying to bridge the gap between the fashion industry and the sewing space. I spend a lot less time in the garment district. I work from home, so of course that means that I'm mostly at my house in Brooklyn. But it's also just so daunting to plan days to go because I know how exhausted I'm going to be. The garment district is incredibly tiring. As I mentioned, I went there yesterday. I finished the day having walked 11,000 steps. I know some people try and like hit their 10,000 step goal every single day. That's not me. I work from home. I'm maybe hitting like 3,000 steps a day if I'm lucky. So 11,000 steps, whew, I was so tired. I still am. I can't believe I'm even standing right now. Eat food. Make sure to have some lunch before you go or some breakfast before you go, unless you are specifically planning to get some food while you're there, which there are tons of options, which might be a perfect way to break up your day there. And wear comfy shoes. I went yesterday and I was in Doc Martens, and it was a huge mistake. I wish I had worn my running sneakers because that is how much you're walking around. I went to Mood Fabrics and I was there probably for like an hour, and just going up and down the stairs and around the aisles, like I probably had like 1,000 steps just in Mood. Like you are walking around so much. It is really unbelievable. And that's kind of how people describe visiting New York all the time. Like if you're coming to visit New York City, you're going to be walking so much. So just make sure to always wear comfortable shoes. And my last tip is to bring a bottle of water, bring some tissues, and bring some hand sanitizer. And maybe this is just me because I have lived in New York for a very long time and we've been through a pandemic and I'm a tiny bit of a germaphobe, but if you're going into all of these stores and you're touching all of these fabrics, you're going to have so many fibers on your hands. And if you're going straight from that fabric store to go grab a slice of pizza or go get a little croissant at a bakery and you need to use your hands, just make sure to bring hand sanitizer with you. And if you're running in and out of stores, I don't know about you, but my nose is always running, whether it's hot, cold, whatever. The change of temperatures from the hot outside to the AC inside, or from the cold outside to the heating inside, my nose is just always running. and these stores are not fit for for comfort for you. You know, you're going to be lucky if you find a bathroom. In fact, recommendation is Mood does have a bathroom that's available to customers, so if you do need a bathroom throughout the day, go to Mood Fabrics. So yeah, just be prepared and bring water because, like I said, it's like a workout going to the garment district. So those are my 5 tips for going to the New York City garment district. If you want more suggestions about the New York City garment district, let me know in the comments below because I have a very long list of stores and recommendations that I know around that area. So if you're curious or if you need suggestions, if you're planning a trip, then reach out and I am happy to help. My next video is going to be a little recap of what I purchased in the New York City garment district. So stay tuned.